What's up, everybody? Here, let me try that again.
Do what you kind of.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah, I know, right?
Maybe not that one.
What up?
Hold on. Hi, everyone. This is Pastor Kyle. No, I don't like that one either. What's going on, guys? Pastor Kyle.
Henry Roman, Esquire.
And ignore him. And we're back with another episode. No, everybody wants to ignore you. Wait, who are you?
I know, right? I'm Johnny.
Another episode of RealTalk, and we are on episode number whatever. I really need to figure that out.
Pretty much.
Because I think we're almost at a year. No, a year is going to be, I want to say, April.
April.
I think about April is a year, so we got some time. So I think we're on like episode like 40 or something. So anyways, I hope everybody has had a marvelous week. I hope everybody has had we really need to get sponsored by like Monster or something like that.
Feel like a monster. Yeah.
Or Skillet. I mean, hey, that'd be really cool to try to get one of them on board with us.
It's the best video of all time, man.
So, anyways, Henry.
On a lighter note. What? Don't be looking at me with that tone of voice.
So we got Dante. You can't see him, but he's off camera. He is here to assist. And we got Samaj in the other room. Ain't nobody really pay him any mind anyways.
He's over there talking to himself.
Probably. But it's good to be here. It's been a week for all the right and wrong reasons. And every week it's exciting to get closer to this time to where we're able to spend it with you. I know that sounds cliche, and like, how could he really mean that? But it's true. Is when we get through the week, when we get going on this week, and we get into things, this is our way to let out the experiences that we have and the things that God's trying to show us throughout the week. And sometimes it's stressful, sometimes it's great, most of the times it's stressful.
Yeah, no, right? And the good thing about it is almost all of what we say, it's really for it to be applied. It's not just some blather, some talk. It's really about having those internal feelings and things we go through the week being viewed through a biblical lens and then being applied.
Yeah. So, speaking of biblical lens and applying,
I got a new job.
Yeah, somebody else has applied for your job.
Again? Golly.
And hands down, without hesitation, I told them it's theirs.
I should be a weatherman. They get away with everything. Sickening. Get fired every week, man. This is ridiculous.
Right?
One of these weeks, I'm going to muster up the courage to quit. That way I could be in control.
You quit. You ain't coming back through that door.
Not even if I beg?
No.
Man, I can't win. So I'm going to perpetually get fired?
Every day of the week.
Dang it. Man.
So anyways, tonight, you may have noticed in the, Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube title, it says Through the Fire.
True to fire. And
this was something that came to me on Tuesday, and I didn't really understand where it came from. I didn't understand why God was showing it to what he was trying to show me through it. Because I was at work, I was listening to my devotions, and everything while I was working, and that was one phrase, and it had really nothing to do with what my devotion was about, but it was the one phrase that stuck with and stuck with and stuck with and stuck with. And as the week has progressed, all of a sudden starts to make a little bit more sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we are going to get into it. We are going to be in Daniel chapter 3.
Chapter 3.
Starting with verse 19. If you would like to follow along, I encourage you to follow along. Just don't close us out. The Nebuchadnezzar was filled with fury. So if you aren't sure, let me back up and give a little context to what's going on here. Is Nebuchadnezzar has these guys that are under him that he listens to, say like advisors, and they say, hey, Nebuchadnezzar, build a golden image so that everybody will worship you. And in this, they knew that that these three young men would not.
What you're saying is there might have been an ulterior motive.
Oh wow! You know, it kind of sounds like something that's. We're just gonna leave that one alone. But anyways, so they built this
like the big golden statue, gigantic.
And they declared times for this to happen. And it says in verse 4, and the herald proclaimed aloud, you are commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, you are to fall down and worship the golden image of Nebuchadnezzar. And whoever does not fall down will be cast into a burning, fiery furnace. So, as you can guess, there are three young boys that lived in the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
And this wasn't even, and two, this wasn't a small statue. It says this statue was 90 feet tall.
Yeah.
And like 9 feet wide. It was humongous.
So, they said, so we fast forward to verse 14. They got brought before Nebuchadnezzar because they didn't bow down and worship. And Nebuchadnezzar was mad because he's like, well, I made a decree. And this is what's supposed to happen. Yep. So then Nebuchadnezzar answered and said to them, is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image that I have set up? Now, if you are ready when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music to fall down and worship the image that I have made, well and good. But if you do not, you shall be immediately be cast into a burning, fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter.
Wow. That's bold.
Wow. Like, who do you think we are?
Wow.
Do you know who I am? And if this be so, our God, capital G, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. And if you want to talk about somebody that's got some hair on their chest,
because the thing is, in this time, like many others, you do not talk to the king like that.
Yeah, you don't talk to a royal guard.
Yeah,
you don't talk to a royal servant.
Yeah,
like that. If you are not of that royal group, and you talk to somebody of authority with like that, you gone.
That's asking to be led to the gallows or the guillotine.
Yep.
If they're that kind.
So they just straight up said, I don't know who you think you are, but we know whose we are, and we don't care what you want us to do. It's not happening. is basically what they said in our time. Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with fury. Imagine that. And the expression of his face was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times more than it was usually heated. And he ordered some of the mighty men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and to cast them into the fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their cloaks, their tunics, their hats, and other garments, and they were thrown into the burning fiery furnace. Because the king's order was urgent and the furnace overheated, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell bound into the burning fiery furnace.
Wow. Do you know how angry you have to be to even kill your own guards in the process?
Yeah.
Your own soldiers?
Yeah. Just to be like, I don't care about you. I'm so mad at them that you are just...
All y'all gonna die together.
Yeah.
That's something.
Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished and rose up in haste. He declared to his counselors, "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire?" They answered and said to the king, "True, O king." He answered and said, "But I see 4 men unbound, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the appearance of the 4th is like the son of the gods." And Nebuchadnezzar came near to the door of the burning fiery furnace, and he declared, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here." And they came out, and it goes on to say that they came out, and the men that had got them thrown in and had them build the statue, I believe were thrown in the fire.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. I want to make sure that I'm not getting
Wow.
Yeah. So, tonight, through the fire, let's talk about this, because we go through some stuff, right?
Right.
We go through some stuff, right?
Right. Like one guy would say, "This is where the rubber meets the road."
This is, yes.
You're not even gonna try it.
I'm not gonna try it because I'm terrible. But you know, the thing that I think got me the most on the story is, so the king was mad, which I understand. I'd be mad too if somebody got up in my face and been like, "I don't care what you want. I don't care what you're saying."
When you're the authority, yeah.
Yeah, you know, as a parent, I get angry when my kid tells me no, even if he's joking. Sometimes I'm just like, "You're crossing the line."
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you a little bit of grace here, and I'm going to warn you before something happens.
No, worship that statue, you little ingrate.
Or else.
Or else. I'm going to throw you in the oven. Go and heat that oven up to 500 degrees.
Disclaimer, I am not with him.
I'm just saying what you wanted to do. That's all.
Oh, Lord.
I'm your conscience.
Please don't be my conscience.
No, it would be seared.
Ha, ha, ha. I see what you did there. But you know, the funny thing is in this, you know, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they go into the fiery furnace. But before that, he turned it up 7 times. 7 times. Yeah, I'm really Southern now. He turned it up 7 times harder than it really was before.
You know, you answer your multiplication 1 times 1 times 1.
Oh,
I shouldn't be talking about my kin like that.
You shouldn't. I should be talking about your kid like that.
Banished from New Orleans.
But so the thing is the way I read into it, and you know, I'm not a philosopher by nature or anything like that. So I don't want to be like, oh, this is in stone what the Bible is saying.
Right.
But this is my takeaway on it is
like you read God's mind all of a sudden, huh?
right. My takeaway on it is why would you take extra precautions if you weren't worried?
Mm-hmm. Why it had to be 7? Yep. Time in. Technical difficulties, folks. Technical difficulties.
All right, everybody. I think we are good.
We're good to go. Good to go.
I think we're good. You know, when you start talking about Jesus, things happen.
I know, right?
It seems like that every week, guys. We will be doing just fine, and this kind of actually goes with what we're talking about. Is every time we go to do something, everything will be great until
the moment of
truth, and then it's like fire gets cranked up.
Yeah.
But so to go back to this was
so you're talking about the doubt that must have been in
yes.
Nebuchadnezzar's mind.
To be like, you know what, that furnace has killed people over and over and over and over and over again at the heat that it is. And, you know, the pain and everything. And if you're just angry, you want to see that struggle, that turmoil, that everything. Even more so. So to say, hey, I want to bump this up 7 degrees isn't necessarily something that we do to say, oh, I'm even more angry. That's just going to kill the person faster.
Right, yeah. You maybe want to delay it a little bit.
Yeah.
Beat them first.
Yeah.
You know?
But it wasn't like that. He said, crank it up to 7 times more, because if they have that much faith in their God that they're still willing to put their lives on the line, there might be something to this. And again, this is my take on it, so I don't want to put it in stone for everybody. But the doubt that was there created a more prominent situation for their faith to have to go through. And, you know, what I see in my life and what I see in with Henry, I don't know if I can speak for you, but
go ahead.
Yeah, you just the co-host. You just sit there and I'd say look pretty, but we know that'd be awfully hard for you.
I'm just the beauty. I'm just the beauty of the team, man. It is what it is.
You're like the cheerleader.
Yep, all three of me.
So, just this thought that, when I'm going through life and I find that the deeper I dive into ministry, the deeper I push my relationship with God, the more I go through. And the more that hits the fan, and the more of my past gets brought into things, and the more the enemy fights me on, you're not good enough. You want to go deeper, but are you good enough to go deeper? Right. You're starting this church ministry. How are you going to reach people when you've done this, this, and this? You've made changes in life so many times. How are you going to stick to this? And, so many things have been an attack. And right. The heat gets turned up the harder I push. And the more I'm just like, I'm not going to give up through this. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing now just because of the voices that are telling me to stop.
And so that's the thing. You have to be sold out and convinced. And I think that's part of this story and that's why the biblical text really encourages me, because God leaves all of the mappings in here. He leaves the mapping in here that if you just follow his mode, his method, that you can see the good, the bad, and the ugly. You can see what worked, what didn't work, and then when people had tremendous faith. And the thing is, Nebuchadnezzar is only a model, a type of a hinderer of the enemy overall, Satan. Because when you're really doing what God has called you to do, when you're really going the direction God has told you to go, and when you're really doing what God wants you to do, the enemy turns up the fire a little bit hotter. And really, it's because you're sold out. Because the thing is, if you don't need a little bit of spark to get you to quit, you would need it 7 times as hot. I would need to burn my own men up just to make sure I get you. Because what that signifies is, in one light, is that you are on the right track, because you're getting resistance.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting resistance, I would venture to say maybe you're on the broad path. Maybe you're on a path that doesn't lead to the place that God wants you to be. Just in full disclosure, this has not been a very good week. But the one thing that I've been sold out to do is to say this. By all means, I'm going to keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep going the direction that I know God wants me to go. Because if I do that, who cares how hot the furnace gets? Because either the Lord's going to deliver me, but even if he doesn't, I'm still going to obey. I'm still going to go that direction. And so the thing is, just like you, I see things you do all the time, and there's resistance. Programs don't work. Mics stop working. The system crashes. But do we just, throw the headphones down and walk out? Or do we fix it and get back at it?
Yeah.
And that's where the rubber meets the road. And that's why this story is such an impactful thing, because it's applicable. It's applicable to what we do today. Because every moment you could find a reason to give up. I could find a reason to talk to Kyle, and Kyle says, you know what, bro? This week been tough, man. I ain't doing it. And then it's like, wow, that's all it took? Well, maybe you weren't as steadfast about this.
Yeah.
But you know what, if you say, well, you know what? Come here early, or this is what I'm going to do. We're going to fix this. We're going to find it out. We're going to switch this. We're going to do that. Then that's stick-to-itiveness. That means that you were sold out to the cause.
Is that a real word?
That's what I made up. You're welcome.
That's going to end up on a shirt. Stick-to-itiveness.
He's always trying to put stuff I say on the shirt, man. You're going to get me crucified.
That's going to end up on a shirt.
That's so true.
But you know what you said it is, the thing is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, if they didn't have the stick-to-itiveness, I like that word, We're gonna keep that.
That's why I'm Esquire.
If we didn't have, or if they didn't have it, guess what would have happened? They would have said, you know what, bro, that furnace is way too hot.
Oh, hell,
Nebuchadnezzar.
Change your mind.
Man, I'll call you whatever you want. And the thing is they would have just gave in. Yep. But because it was worth sticking through to the end. And that's the rub. Is, I think I stole that from you at one point too. But that's the rub on it is, guess what? You're only going to stick to things that are worth sticking to.
Wow. Yeah. That's right. If it has no value, why?
So let me say this again. You're only going to stick to things that are worth sticking to. And it doesn't mean that they're not worth it. They're not worth it to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things in life that we just give up on. You know, I once heard, I think it was like some millionaire or something say, and the guy said, everybody has roughly 3 chances in life to make it and become a millionaire. And it depends on what choice that you make in that moment on whether you make it or not. And I said, you know, there's value to that. There's truth. That yes, we've probably all at one point or another had the opportunity to financially succeed in life as far as that's concerned. And in those moments, we had to pick or choose. Is that decision and going down that path, is it sticking to it going to be worth it? Because if we look at large corporations like Apple, you know, how many times did they go bankrupt?
Right.
And how many times did he fail? Dr. Seuss, you know, failed, went to how many publishers that told him no and said he would never make it. And finally one low-level publisher took a look at him and said, you know what, I'll give you a shot. Right. And now he's one of the most famous authors in history.
So it's like many forks in the road along that journey.
But to him, it was worth sticking to. Everybody else,
right.
There's no value to that.
That's right.
Relationships, jobs, you insert whatever it is here. If it's not worth it to you, you're not going to stick to it. The stick-to-itiveness disappears. But if you value it, if you care about it, you're going to do whatever you can to make it happen.
And it becomes something you devote yourself to. These men were devoted to their God by any means necessary, you know, even to the point of them dying. And it mirrors the fact of how Jesus was sold out for us, that even when he was and he was going to die, and he said, you know, if this cup was able to pass from him, if there was another way, he'd do it, because he knew what was going to happen to him. He knew the pain he was about to experience. But he said, because they have such value to me, I'm still going to go to the cross. And so your analogy is just it's so dead on, because we meant so much to him, he went to the cross.
Yeah. If
we didn't mean that much, he could have said, nah.
And the thing is, he kind of did. Is for a split moment, he's just like, you know, God, if there's any way, let me go.
Right.
Give me an out right now, because I don't want to do this. But we were valued enough to where he was like, man, I guess.
And that is the gospel, right? That's what it boils down to. Is God loved us enough that he'd go to the cross and die.
If this wasn't on a stick, I just
mic drop.
Mic drop. I just preached the whole gospel in 5 minutes.
I'm telling you. Put that on the shirt.
Gospel in 5 minutes, mic drop.
Yeah.
But you know, we give up way too easy. You know, we wonder why we struggle with things. And the other part to this is stick-to-itiveness.
There you go.
I'll learn how to talk
Preach.
one day.
Preach.
Can often offer hurdles where you have like if you're not in, you're gonna find out real quick that you're not in, all in, because you might have to change something about Henry in order to follow through with whatever it is that you need to follow through with.
That's true.
I might have to change something about Kyle.
It'd be a lot.
In order, you ain't wrong. In order to accomplish something that I want to accomplish.
And you have.
I.e.
this process you have.
I.e. church.
Yeah.
Making sacrifices and changes in life to where if I'm not all in on this, it dies.
And you gave away some comfort, because how easy would it to be if you didn't have to do all of the editing, all of the background stuff, all of the searching for the best method to go about this stuff? You know, all of these things you have to go through. You could just be sitting at home playing video games, and nobody would be the wiser.
So instead, I decided
to be Pastor Kyle.
So instead, I decided to be Pastor Kyle and play video games.
Yeah, yeah.
But
you're absolutely right, because you value it.
But you have to. But in life, me and Pastor Ed, you guys will see a lot more of him in March. Mm-hmm. Stay tuned. But so me and Pastor Ed, my father-in-law, we were talking today about relationships, and we were talking about my relationship with my wife, their daughter, and his relationship with his wife. And I was just like, sometimes I just gotta lay the smack down. Totally kidding.
Oh, my sound just went out again.
Hello.
Yeah, you better sing. You better be singing tonight.
But no, we were talking about things that we have faced in life, and like for instance, me and my wife, we filed for divorce at a very early onset stages in our relationship, and what it came down to is the lack of wanting to change, and a lot of it was communication for us. We both could have been like gone and never looked back and not be where we're at today. Those were options on the table. Hands down, no problems. But eventually we had to make that decision. Is us worth it to us? And you have to make changes. I had to make changes that I was not wanting to make. Changes that were hard. I had to give up singleness. Right, yeah. And even though when we're part of it. Hey, but when you first get married, I'm gonna speak some truth. I'm gonna give some guy secrets away.
Put some sauce on it.
Is when you get married and you've been a single person, and I can only speak for guys, but I'm sure this happens with women as well. And you put me in a relationship where I actually have to be accountable to somebody. Yep. Forget that. Right? I do what Kyle wants to do. I do what I want to do all the time. Don't tell me that I have to ask permission.
I know, right? Right.
Who do you think you are?
That's a human condition, not wanting to be accountable, not wanting to answer to.
But you have to make that change. I was not one of apologizing all the time. Guess what I had to learn how to do? Apologize all the time.
I'm sorry for being sorry.
We laugh at that, but I have a guy at work that does that. He apologizes for everything, even though if there's nothing to apologize for. And I'm like, I swear to God, if you apologize to me for anything, give you a reason. And he's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, stop.
Did it again.
But even with God, hey, we make that commitment. Father, forgive me for I have sinned. I am a sinner, and I choose you over me. And and creating that relationship. In that, the stick-to-itiveness comes with change.
Well,
to drive yourself to get deeper with Christ comes change. You can't stay where you're at and expect your relationship to get deeper, to expect a move in your life more and more when you haven't took any step forward.
Right. But to me, it's like, as much as I fought it, I love the stuff that's in this book. But the problem is, like with me and like anybody else, the main problem with really believing what's in this book is because if you really believe it, then you got to change.
Yeah.
Because herein lies in this book the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like I say a lot. And when you start to really hold on to it, when you start to really grasp it, when you start to see the seriousness of it, because this is so serious that it ends up meaning the determination of where your soul is going to be for eternity. And if that doesn't hit you, I don't know what can.
Yeah.
And the reason why people walk away from this book is not because they can dispute it. It's because if I said I believe it, I got to change. Yeah. It's for the reason that I was a hypocrite for the longest, and I could tell you about God, but I didn't want to do it. And what it said is I really didn't believe it. Because if I actually believed it, I would have to change.
So let me explain the definition of hypocrite. You can actually look this up if you want, if you don't believe me, but this is the definition of hypocrite. Someone who believes in something but does the exact opposite of what they believe in. Romans 12:2, I think it's Romans 12.
Well, you the pastor, just make it up.
Yeah, we can do that.
Golly, God teach this dude everything. You're supposed to make it up and then ask him to give money to the building fund.
Hey, if everybody wants to give money to the building fund.
I'm just trying to help. Like they say, I'm helping you, boy. I'm helping you.
You're not.
Help you get arrested. This guy has a building fund for the last 15 years, and they haven't even built as much as a gingerbread house.
Romans 3.
Okay.
Romans 3:23.
Preach it.
Says, the Bible tells you that you're a hypocrite. Every single person here, Christian.
All of us.
You're all hypocrites. Bible tells us. Romans 3:23 says, for all have sinned and have come short of the glory of God. Which, when we look back into what the Webster definition of being a hypocrite is believing in something and doing the exact opposite of what you believe in. So if we've all sinned and we believe in Scripture, we believe it to be true, we believe it to be whole, inspired by the word, by the breath of God. If that is true in your life and you have sinned, which means you have done the opposite of what the Bible has told you to do, you are, in fact, a hypocrite. So pat yourself on the back. You are official a hypocrite.
Come to the front
today.
And get your trophy.
Woohoo! But you know what? So am I.
Yeah.
And so is Henry.
Yep.
And so is Dante. So is Samaj. And so is Pastor Ed.
It's all.
And my mother-in-law Donna's the biggest.
Oh, kill him.
And you know what they say? When you marry your wife, you can look at the mother-in-law and see what the wife's gonna. We're gonna leave that alone.
I ain't in that.
Touch him, Jesus.
I know.
Touch him.
I'm looking for lightning.
Touch him, Jesus, before somebody else does.
It might be from Donna's hand. You might have to rename her Zeus. Your next plate is gonna have a little bit of cyanide in it. You're gonna be like,
hey, I need you to come over and sample this before I. You want to come over to eat tonight?
Oh no!
Swap the plates.
I'm good. I'm good. Air sandwich works good for me. But you are absolutely right. We're all hypocrites to a point. The only thing that,
except for me,
I know, right? You're perfect. We're all hypocrites to a point, and the only thing that steers us away from hypocrisy is starting to own what we say we believe. And that's a hard place. That is where the rubber meets the road. Like my Jamaican friend would say. That is where the rubber meets the road, because we all have to look at ourselves and evaluate. That's why the Bible talks about us looking in the mirror. And it's easy for us to look in the mirror and walk away from it and forget what we saw. And the fact is, when I look in the mirror, and, I might be looking in the mirror to shave, but the face that's looking in that mirror, looking back at me, I have to rectify that. I have to rectify the thought that might be in my mind at that particular moment. What if the guy's really handsome? I mean, he may have some, might have some of those.
So you don't have that issue?
No, I don't have that issue. Not at all.
All right, next.
I know, right? But we all have to deal with, like Michael Jackson, the man in the mirror, We all have to deal with it.
Sing it for me. Sing it for me.
The live stream would end. We would totally lose sound. But, we have to rectify. We have to deal with that. And women, too. They have to deal with the woman they see back in that mirror that's looking back at them. And the only thing that steers us away from hypocrisy, the thing that's in us, from our evil hearts, is how do we rectify what we see? Yep. Do we see it for face value? No pun intended, but do we see it for what it is? Or do we make excuse? Now, I could easily say, the devil made me do it.
Oh, it's generational.
Yeah. You know what? My daddy was this, my mama was that, and that becomes the excuse. Well, you know what? You ain't your mom, you ain't your dad. You are accountable for you. I mean, no matter how much I want to pray, I will not pray Dante into heaven. I will not pray any one of my children into heaven, nor my mom. I can pray
Sorry,
for
Dante,
them.
you ain't gonna make it.
I know, right? You ain't gonna make it. You have gone already, boy.
You ain't. When you fall downstairs, you ain't gonna go upstairs.
I know, right? Yeah. You got the wrong genes, and I ain't talking about Levi's. But the thing is, you can't pray anybody else into heaven. The only person that you're going to be accountable for when we go meet God is going to be you. You're going to have to stand in front of him and give an account for every good and bad deed, every thought. And the thing is, everybody want to pat themselves on the back.
Every meme.
When I get up to Jesus, I'm going to tell him this. You ain't going to say nothing.
It's funny. So the minute you said that, the first thing that came into my mind was I remember some soldiers.
All right.
When I went to basic training, and these kids, man, he comes up to me, man, he's gonna get up in my face and yell, I'm gonna push him right off. Okay, man, those kids were the first ones crying when they had a drill sergeant get up in their face and tell them to get down. They were like, "How many, Sergeant?"
I know those sergeants eat you alive just like if they was eating Cheerios.
And it's funny is we all have this perception of what heaven's going to be like when we first get there, and I'm pretty sure we all have this visual in our head. I'm going to walk on up. I'm Saint Peter's going to be there, and be like, "Your name ain't in the book." Yeah, it's right there. It's in the Spencers.
It's spelled with a P and not an H.
You've been up here for a long time. Your eyes are probably bad. But we all have this perception of what it's gonna be like, and with all jokes aside,
yeah, Tupac thought that they had thugs in heaven.
Wait, they don't?
I guess we ain't gonna make it.
Speak for yourself. But how things are gonna be, I promise you probably aren't anything like what we think. When I went to basic training, I had a perception on my, and all these kids had a perception of this is how I was going to act in front of. No. The Bible even says in the end times, in the last days, every knee will bow. And so this perception of I'm important to God. God is not a respecter of persons.
Even 9 foot tall Goliath, he gonna have to bend that knee.
Every knee will bow. That means Henry's.
I can't get away with that.
No. And that's the thing is we can't make excuses anymore. We're
Especially for
we're
the king that knows it all.
we are going to be held to the fire.
How did the Nebuchadnezzar's fire for sure?
And are you ready? Are you ready to go through that? Are you ready to make a step forward in your relationship now? Are you ready that, hey, today I'm going to start reading through the Bible one day at a time. I'm going to get on and I'm going to go on the Bible app and I'm going to listen to it while I'm at work. I'm going to listen to more devotions. I'm going to pray more. These steps that you're going to take, prepare yourself that fire is going to be turned up just a little bit hotter. And you're going to start having things come into your life to test you, to test your faith, to test where are you willing? Do you have the stick-to-itiveness to push on?
Right.
All right, everybody, drop what you got. Follow me. You don't know who I am. I mean nothing to you right now, but I'm going to mean everything to you later.
Yep. Didn't even ask them how much they was paying.
and then just be like, you know what? I like that guy. Let's go. Do you think for a second that they thought that they were going to be put to the fire like they were?
Crucified upside down, beaten, stoned every other week.
And let me put into perspective of stoning, because everybody thinks stoning is one thing, and it's really not.
Like they got hit with a rock. Like, oh, that hurt.
Like there are just a bunch of people that just stood around with rocks. And I'm not saying that this didn't happen. I'm sure a form of that probably did happen. But the typical stoning that occurred is a stone.
Yeah.
A stone. Yeah. And they would go into a high place and drop it onto the person's chest. And it would kill them. And if they didn't succeed the first time, they did it again. So stoning isn't what, oh, he threw a rock at me, Johnny. Mm-hmm. I got hit in the eye, Mom. Here, put a stake on it.
I know. Robitussin. Fix everything.
Or down south, just go sit on the pot. Just go sit on the pot. You'll be fine.
When you go to sleep and you wake up, it'd be all better.
Yeah, all better.
Now you're missing the eye.
or the army. Change your socks, drink some water.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Fix everything.
Yeah. But to think that that's the fire that they were going to be put up against, guess what? That fire didn't get cranked up all the way at once. It gradually got cranked up because God knows our situations. God knows our life, our personalities, our everything. And God is only going to put you through things that you can handle. Now, there's going to be a lot of times that you don't think you can handle it. Those are the moments in life where God wants you to turn to Him.
Yeah.
Because this is God has a purpose and a plan to move you to a deeper place. But if you stop here and don't press on, is just like a sword or anything else, a knife. The more you temper it,
right? Yeah. The
more you put it in the fire and then pull it back out and then put it in the fire, and because they have a tempering process that is like no other,
unmatched in all the world.
Because
even now they can't necessarily replicate it.
No, because the way that they did it, their hammering techniques were with a purpose. Every hit, everything that blade endured had a specific purpose. They weren't just randomly hammering in certain spots. Each hit had a specific job. Everything we go through in life has a specific purpose to strengthen us in a certain area in our life, to where when we get to the end of the race, when we're starting to get towards the end and we start to get weary and we start to, God, I just don't have it in me anymore. He's like, you remember that one time when this happened in your life,
right?
And you got through it. You can get through this.
And even so you can help somebody else through.
Absolutely. But the stick-to-itiveness, man, we should just named it that. That should have been the theme tonight. Stick-to-itiveness. Why didn't you think about that earlier?
I'm not that smart. You want me to tell you what I really think?
But the stick-to-itiveness that you allow yourself to have is what's going to get you push through things. Mm-hmm. If you just say, you know what? Yeah, I'm all in. And then.
Yep. And see, that's the Bible does say, after you have done all you can do to stand still, continue to stand. So what that means is when your legs are burning and they're on fire and you've given everything you can possibly muster, the Bible says, even through that, continue. So that's purely what you're going to have to endure sometimes. And like you said, like every hit on that sword was purposeful to bring about the strength that it was going to be needed for it to endure the battle that was ahead. So when those guys went into battle with those swords, they knew that the man would fail before the sword would, because that sword had endured every bit of temperament and process to get it to be the strongest it could possibly be. So that man would fall off before that sword would. And I think that's what we have to do. There's situations that come up where we have to make a decision. Are we going to show up tonight?
Yeah.
When the sound goes out.
All right, bye, guys.
Are you going to continue? Yeah. Or do you say, hey, guys, you know what? We've had enough for the night. The sound went out. Or, that person commented something that, we didn't like. Do you give up?
Yeah.
Or do you take the hit in the side and say, ooh, you know what? That hurt a little bit. Maybe the stream wasn't as perfect as we would like it to be. It didn't end up the way, we necessarily planned it. But at that point, do you give up? And if you give up, I'm going to tell you this. If when you're tested, you give up, the Lord can't count on you when the battle is afoot.
Keep talking, because I'm going to post something in the comments.
Yeah, but it's like a soldier. I don't want to go into battle with a soldier that I know always runs. When the shooting happens and he's like, they're shooting, and he's running around like his chick on his head cut off. I don't want that guy. I don't want the guy that quits every moment with me. What I want is the guy that's going to get back to back with me and say, hey, bro, I'm shot. You shot. We only have 3 bullets left, but I still have a knife. And we're going to do whatever we can back to back to continue fighting this battle until our last breath. And when you can do that, the Lord can use you. The Lord has used great men over time that have not had many resources, unlearned men, not very smart, but they were sold out for the purpose. And through that purpose, they found that their destiny was really brought about. So it's an amazing thing when you can see a person that doesn't have all the tools, but they just stick to it. They just fight. And then they're the guys that normally win.
Yeah.
Because they didn't just give up when the battle was hard.
So you guys will notice in the comments sections and all of the social medias that we have, there should be a YouTube link. If not, you can see it on the screen. In that YouTube link is a link to Skit Guys. They did a skit called God's Chisel, or just maybe it's just called Chisel. Please go and watch it after we're done. Not right now. Wait till we're done. It is very powerful and a great demonstration of what you were talking about, of taking that hidden aside and it being like, ooh. But when it all comes down to it is we as individuals, we have to stand up to the fire and we have to decide to press forward. We have to be the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's, where it doesn't matter how hot you turn that furnace up. I have the stick-to-itiveness. I love that word. I have the stick-to-itiveness to press forward.
Right.
because God, the Most High God, means more to me than anything you could do to me, including my physical life. And I'm sorry, folks. Believe it whether you want to or not. There's going to come a time. It might not be in my lifetime. It may not be even in my kid's lifetime. I highly doubt it, that it's not going to be sooner than later. But there's going to be a time where we have to make that decision. Is my physical life worth more than my spiritual life? Wow. And are we prepared? Are you prepared to make that decision? Because Ron Luce did this once in a battle cry thing. He had like 70,000 teens in the Ford Field, all youth groups. And man, when they were playing worship music, the balcony, you could feel it move up and down because just everybody getting into it. And then all of a sudden, Ron Luce started talking, and he started saying, I stand for Jesus, I believe was the comment that he said. But the thing that I remember the most about it was he pointed off and he said, one person at a time. You're talking 70,000 people. And he's like, one person at a time. Not two people. You don't stand up as a group. One person at a time. You stand up and say, I stand for Jesus. Well, of course, it was quiet for a second. And then all of a sudden you'd hear it, one over there. One over there. And then we had three girls in front of us. And all three of them stood up at one time. And he's like, sit down.
You're not going to hide in the crowd.
No.
It's got to be personal.
And he repeated himself numerous times. He's like, one at a time.
Wow.
And
that's powerful.
The takeaway that I got from it is are you willing to stand for Jesus when you're the only one standing?
Right. It's easy to go with the crowd. Super easy.
It's easy to go and say, oh yeah, I stand for Jesus at church. But when you're talking with an atheist friend and he starts asking you about your faith, well, yeah, or your boss, hey, are you really one of these Christian?
Yeah, you ain't serious about that whole Jesus thing, are you?
Because we need you to come in on Sundays. It's easy to stand in front of somebody when you know they feel the same way.
Yep. Nothing to lose, nothing to gain.
And, this is real talk, so let's be real. Would you say the same thing if somebody had a gun to your head?
Right.
And they tell you, denounce Jesus or die.
Right.
Are you going to be the one that says, yep, I'm one of those Jesus freaks?
Wow.
Or are you going to be the one that says, Jeremy? Jeremy who?
We're making light of it a little bit, but that is it. I mean, when it gets real, I mean really real, not just talking to your buddy real.
When you're standing in the fire, are you willing to say, yeah, there's a fourth person here with me?
And the other thing, Kyle, too, is sometimes that stand may not just be for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes that stand is for somebody else that's gleaning and looking on.
And they just need
by the faith that when you stepped up, and see what causes the one person to stand over here and do it alone. Now the other person on the other side of the stadium says, you know what? Because he did it, he was courageous enough, then she does it.
Talk about kids. So I've made a commitment to myself
to beat them.
Yep, hands down. No, I've made a commitment with myself that I'm and the direction America's going in and all of these things. And to all you, I say, God's still on the throne. And I've made it a commitment that, especially in front of my kids and even in front of my wife, I have my own fears. My fears are my fears. Most of them aren't anything to really worry about, but they're there. But long story short, I'm going to set myself as an example for my kids.
Right. Amen.
That when things hit the fan, I'm not going to drown in fear. Mm-hmm. That I am going to stand firm. I am going to believe that God is on the throne, that he is in charge, that it doesn't matter who is sitting in that political office. It doesn't matter what virus is out in America or any other part of the world. It does not matter because God is still on the throne.
And it's one of two things. Either he's there or he ain't.
And
ain't no middle ground.
And my takeaway is this, I do not want my kids to think that they have to stand in fear. But I'm going to preach to them that, oh man, God is in charge. God's got you. God's got your back. God knows the things that are going on. He has a plan. There's a purpose. There's all of these things, and I preach it all day long, but then I don't live it.
Right. It's one thing to preach courageousness and sticking to it and all those things, but when it gets tough, that's the time that you have to show and prove. And I think what God is calling all of us to do is to ratchet down, because I don't think any of this stuff goes on for nothing.
No.
There's got to be there has to be purpose in what happens. There has to be purpose and even the good things. There's a purpose in that, because God has to show you that sometimes he can prosper you. Sometimes he shows you that, he took away something that could have happened detrimental to you. So even in the good times, there's a purpose. But in these rough times, that's when that purpose it's like it's boiling it out. It's like you're boiling out the impurities of the gold. So you can make the gold pure. So it becomes more valuable. And we're just like that. God is turning up the temperature and boiling out of some of those things that are internal, some of those things that held us back.
Like Darren said, Malachi 3 talks about the refiner's fire.
Absolutely. And see, some of us, we want to think we're too perfect, that we don't need that. But the thing is, we all need it. We all need to be boiled a little bit for those impurities to come out. And what happens is, you don't really know what's in you until that time comes. It's like we talked about it even today. It's like you don't know what's in you until you have opportunity to act on it.
Yep.
I could tell you, I would never do blah, blah, blah. What if I had $1 billion that I could just call shots? And then Kyle told me, hey, you ugly. And I could make a phone call and say, well, yeah, I'm about to erase you. What if you could make that call?
Your eraser's not big enough.
Oh, Cap. No, but the thing is, though, what if you could make that call? What if you were king? And then somebody came up to you like they came up to David. And look at what's happened to you. Would you kill him if you had the opportunity to? Now, see, the difference is, the rub is, at that point, you can make the decision. But if you never have the opportunity to make that decision, you can save all your blather about what I wouldn't do. Because what I wouldn't do turns into what I would do if I had the means. Yeah. If I had the means, some people that told me some stuff when I was 12, 15, they would no longer be here. Because I would have had the means to correct that issue, to fix that problem, so to speak. And then them me. So sometimes God doesn't give us the means to do said thing because he knows our hearts are wicked enough just to do it. So with that being said, God has to sometimes turn up the heat so that we see what's really in us. So then when we look in the mirror, now I can rectify what's in me with what's looking at me and then say, how does that align with this book? And how does it align with the Jesus I say I supposedly love and the God I say I supposedly follow? If you really follow the God of that Bible, then your life isn't it going to replicate what God says in this Bible? And if it doesn't, then that means the hypocrite that's looking at in the mirror, i.e. all of us, isn't necessarily aligned. So God turns up the fire sometimes just to show us, like, you ain't as aligned as you think you are. You haven't arrived at the spot you say you were at. And now I'm going to let you see that. I'm going to let you fall on your face a little bit. Now, I love you enough that I'm going to show you the way, but I'm going to let you fall. It's no different from taking the training wheels off a kid's bike. If you want to protect them, they'll be 45 and can't ride a bike. But if you let them fall when they're 2, and I get a scrape on the arm, I say, you know what? I don't want to scrape that arm again. And you know what? I learned how to start correcting and not perfectly do it, but eventually I get better. And so now the refiner's fire, i.e. the no training wheels, gets me to start riding straight. And then now the Kyle I see today is not the guy that gets on the bike and oh, this bike don't have training wheels. Like, Kyle, dude, come on, man. How old are you?
Shut up. Let's not talk about my training wheels.
I know, right? He has training wheels on the truck.
That was in confidence. I told you that.
You lied and told me those training wheels were wheelie bars.
Can't tell you anything.
I'm sorry. But that's it. I think God sometimes turns up the temperature to show us what's there. And it's not to harm us. It's really to show us there so that we can correct some things, so that we can be better. And sometimes that correction, even though it hurts and it's you being corrected, people are looking at you. Like you saying, you won't be in fear. When Preston looks at you and sees that you're not in fear at the moment you should be, you know what? When he gets into a time when he gets a little bit older, and it's going to be a time for him to look back and say, you know, this thing is tough. You say, you know what? But my dad stuck with it. I'm going to stick with it too. And that's another point where the alignment of what we say aligns with what we do. And then we can truly be the church that God has called us to be. We can truly be the examples. We can truly be the light of Christ. Because it's not nothing about us that's special. It's only the light within that shines out, because we're basically a reflector. God shines light on us. Wisdom, understanding, patience, all of those things. And only we do is we replicate what God has already replicated with us. For the sake of any day, he could have just killed us and said, you know what? He dishonored me today, so off with his head. But the reason, but God showing patience to us allows us then to show patience. You know, sometimes you tell me about, you know, technical stuff, and I'm like,
That's all the time, folks.
I know. And I get the 30-yard stare. What you're saying
100-yard stare.
I get a 100-yard stare. What you're saying is going over my head, but
He's short.
All kinds of shots. Shoot me again, Ike. But you know what? But sometimes too, that patience that you show me when I don't understand, then when I say something to Samaj and he doesn't understand, then I replicate the patience you showed me. And that's what we
So you
should be
slap him in the back of the head?
I know, right?
I got it.
Get your act together. But that's all it is. He's looking at me. I'm hiding myself. I'm hiding behind the Bible. Don't shoot. You know, but that's the thing. We some of us, we want to make it to be so deep, and it's really not.
Yeah.
It's really simple. This walk we have, it's not as hard as we think it is, and we're not as hard as we make it out to be. It's very simple.
So my leaving comment, one phrase, and we're out, is this simple. It's time to take off the training wheels.
Wow.
And with that,
That'll preach.
we leave you. I want to quickly pray with you really quick.
Absolutely.
And then we are going to give you the rest of your evening and week to yourself.
I don't want to do that.
We'll keep them here forever. All right. Father God, we just thank you for being with us tonight. We thank you for being a part of our life and choosing to have a relationship with us. And Father, your stick-to-itiveness in the things that you do for us, even though we don't deserve it. So Father, I pray that you would just be with each individual that's within the sound of my voice, that you would touch them where they're at, whether they're still in your word with training wheels, or if they're walking or if they're running. Yes. But Father, that you would that you would give them the urgency to move forward, the urgency to to develop that deeper relationship with you. And what in their relationships, in their workplace, and in their church, Father, that they would take steps forward, that they would move forward in you, most importantly, that they wouldn't be afraid, that they would have the courage to stand and not bow, that whenever the fire comes, that they can face it and they can say, I stand firm in the Most High God, that he will deliver me from this. And Father, I just pray that you would be with each person this week, that you would touch them right where they're at. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, y'all. We love you. We care about you so much.
Yeah, just to reiterate, guys, there's a multitude of ways to, if you like what we're doing, there's a multitude
They
of ways
probably
to support
don't.
us. I know, right? Well, that's why they buy the double blessed water, because we
We need to start selling that.
trying to get them there. But if you appreciate, if you do,
You can have
appreciate
it
what
prayed
we're doing-
by a white guy or a black guy.
I know, right?
So if you're more into the Lord bless this water, or if you're more into the touch this water, Jesus,
All things are possible.
we can hook you up with either one.
Yeah, but do support us. I mean, because what you don't see is a lot of stuff behind the scenes. People are working very hard to undergird and support this ministry, and a lot of that, like Kyle has found out in the hard way, a lot of it takes not only effort, but it takes resources to do it. And we want to be the hands and feet of Jesus, and we can't do that without arms and legs. And those resources become that for us, so that we can tie.
Could
these
you
things
imagine
together.
walking around no arms and legs,
Dinosaur, like
but
T-Rex.
just the hands and feet?
Can't even eat the bagel, like. But no, do support us. We really appreciate your prayers and your support and your kind words. Many of you have said kind words to us about the stream and what we're doing, and we
Wait.
really appreciate it.
I never saw these,
They talk to me; they don't talk to you.
but in all seriousness,
Yeah,
you guys have been overtly kind, probably kinder than you probably needed to be.
I know, right?
Because trust me, we understand we're just a couple of rambling fools half the time.
Just keep it real.
Just keeping it real. So again, thank you guys so much. You guys can see on the video right down here. It says tells you where to support us and where to go to find our other social medias. Be part of our Discord server. We want to start having more community on our Discord. Right now, we're still in the beginning stages of getting everything rolled out. But if you go there, that gives us one extra reason to make conversation happen.
Amen.
And ministry happens in those conversations. So we love you. We care about you. And as always, until next time.